we will call this meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to invite Troop 76 up to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could come up and stand up front, that would be great. Come all the way in front, guys.
Right up here this way, guys. There you go. Our flag's right there, so there you go. Turn.
Let us know when you're ready.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Welcome. They're here for a badge, and so we welcome you to this meeting, and hope you enjoy it. With that, we will begin with public audience. Is there anyone who would like to speak? We'll go this way. Ferg?
Two brief things. Ferg Jansen, 3 Foxden Road, West Simsbury. The Chamber of Commerce has a Good Morning Simsbury this Wednesday from 8 to 9, hosted by Chris Barnett and Sheila Griswold at the Berkeley Halfway Home Services. And there's an after hours on Thursday, April 23rd, which is Spring Shopping Fling, beginning at 3:30, and all Chamber members and everyone in town is invited. And it's going to be following an after hours hosted by the Pop-Up Cafe, support the downtown business. Thursday, May 7th, we're again hosting our annual lunch and learn at Henry James School, where business people come and sit and have lunch with students and give them an idea of what goes on in the real world and what they should aspire for if they want to earn a career, to have a career. Our annual meeting and awards luncheon is Thursday, May 28th at 11:30 at the Hot Meadow Country Club. This month, the chamber has formed its first Health and Wellness Task Force with purpose to promote health, wellness, and physical fitness in the workplace and the community through outreach, education, and participation and planning of community events. The second thing is, on behalf of the Performing Arts Board, we are looking for volunteers. We need people to take tickets, usher, park cars, like Sean does very well. Serve soda, and check IDs and such, but we need set up, take down. You don't have to be there at night for the concert. If you want to put numbers on seats, or if you want to help tear down or set up on a beautiful summer day. These posters will be around town. You can go online and sign up, so we need people to support these big events, and whether it's the Hartford Symphony or the other concerts that are listed here. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Going this way. Joan?
Joan Cole, 26 Whitman Drive. As a candidate in the first Selectmen, I am in favor of renovating and expanding Eno Hall for a senior center. The issue of parking can be resolved with a park and ride loop throughout the center of town. This can be achieved with an electric trolley, which would be benefit to the businesses and the senior center. We do not have to spend over $8 million to achieve a community senior center, but Eno Hall has served the people well over the years. Before anyone goes forward on both the Eno renovations and the PAC Senior Community Center, we need to know the full cost of these projects, including operating costs. Placing the senior center at the performing arts area poses many challenges environmentally and functionally. The area is a wetland that has been disturbed during the Iron Horse Boulevard development. There will be a need for a costly environmental impact study and issues associated with the findings. The Performing Arts has areas spraying for mosquitoes before every event and closes the area to the public. This would impact the seniors. Before every concert, there are RVs and buses entering the area with equipment for the concerts, closing the road for traffic in the afternoon. This would impact the use of the facility for seniors. There are security guards hired by the entertainers that close the area around noon prior to the concerts. This would impact the seniors. With tailgating closed the area around noon, concert goers have the use of the senior center. After the concerts, trash has to be picked up the following day. Who will be responsible for the maintenance and protection of the building during concert events? Will the private performing arts group insure the building for damage? Before this board rushes to judgment, this board should evaluate the impact of forming an alliance with the private performing arts. How can this board trust the performing arts group when they cannot provide an audit report to the town for their revenue and expenditures after last year's events? Where is the money and when will this be produced? I am concerned that the town has been governed by committee. At the present time, there are about 45 boards, commissions, and committees all studying various issues during the year. These excessive meetings impact the time spent by staff to coordinate and inform all these entities. Many of these meetings can be reduced to professional management making decisions on public policy issues that benefit the residents. Simsbury is number one in the amount of meetings scheduled on a regular basis. No other town governed by special interest committees. I recently drove past the Simsbury Specialty Housing on Castor Bridge Crossing at the north end of Meadow Street and saw a sign with the town logo on the sign. Since this board approved the criteria for using the town logo, I would like to know if this sign meets the criteria since it is a private company using the town logo. Will the International Skating Center be allowed to use the town logo? What about the Simsbury Community Farm? What about candidates for elected office using the town logo in pictures, signs, and promotional material? What is the penalty when a private company or person uses the town logo without permission? What is the appeal process? Diner Nobel is presently challenging their assessment in court. Diner Nobel is presently assessed for $11,049,500 and is asking for a market value of $7.1 million, leaving $225,800 in reduced taxes. The town should not negotiate this settlement with Diner Nobel until they upgrade their private sewer system to conform to the present standards. The WPCA cannot accept a compromised sewer system until they are brought up to today's standard. Many homes on the Diner Nobel private sewer system have continually been dealing with backups and require professional attention. The latest statistics on registered voters from the registrar's office shows that Democrats have 4,731, the Republicans 5,076, and the Independents have the highest registered voters at 6,085, and other is 108. Since the Independents have the highest registered voters, my chance of winning the election in November as a petitioning candidate for first selectman as an independent choice is doable. Recently, there was a call to the Simsbury Police Department for underage person who allegedly had something placed in an alcoholic beverage that this person was drinking and was incoherent at Simsbury Farms. The garbage pails at Simsbury Farms Power Court are continually filled with beer bottles and cans. There are calls to Simsbury Police from Simsbury Farms because hockey parents are out of control during hockey tournaments. Since alcohol is allowed at Simsbury Farms, this appears to be an unregulated activity condoned by the town. What is the liability to the town when people are out of control? Can the town prohibit the unruly parents from coming to hockey events? According to the judicial website, there are 33 homes in active foreclosures. This reflects an economy in Simsbury.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. Could you wrap it up, please?
Others are financially challenged. The budget's long-term debt should
Thank
be
you, Ms. Cook.
scrutinized for ability to pay and meet over greed.
Thank you.
And I'll put all my comments on www.simsbury.com, Simsbury topics, and Simsbury Cat. And now I will also put it on,
Thank you, Ms. Coe.
okay,
We'll go
on Twitter. My Twitter account is
Thank
now
you.
up and I just want to give it
Walking social media. We're continuing this way. Other people for public audience. Mr. Kalishman?
Don't call the time yet. The symbols are used to be gosh. Thanks, sir.
Do you want us to take the file and pass it down?
Okay, I'll pass them down. There you go.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to address the board. I guess the first thing, I wasn't going to discuss about it, but I'm going to bring it to your attention. I noticed that Peter Kelly, Updike Kelly and Spelsey, has rendered an opinion regarding my constitutional rights, and at the closing, the last paragraph, it indicates the town may prohibit the collection of signatures inside of public buildings or in areas at public parks based on the potential for disruption to the normal business activities or facilities used. I think you're making the council is making an awful lot of this, because I have every right in the world, as long as I don't create a disturbance, to collect signatures on town property. And if Mr. Kelly or Mr. Updike Kelly and Spelsey are going to use their political influence in the courts, let me send them a message: you're going to lose. Now, going back to the Old Testament, and this pertains to Moses. Zipporah, his daughter, it's Jethro's daughter, and she bore him a son, and he called his name Gershom, for he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. And you'll see how it correlates with what I'm going to say. I handed out a handout, and it was in today's Sunday's Current. If you want to, thank you. And if you want to check the authenticity of it, it's Sunday's Current, and it's March 22nd, and it appeared in the opinions. And this is a letter that was written for the Current by a Simsbury resident. And her name is Deborah O'Brien. It's a good name, being St. Patrick's Day was 4 days or so ago. And she starts out, oppressive taxes. We moved to Connecticut 10 years ago. Connecticut is a beautiful state, and the number of parks and outdoor opportunities are just wonderful. It does have nice small road towns scattered throughout the state. But as far it goes for me. I have lived in Simsbury with a property tax, and this is for each and every member here, and I wish you would pay attention. And I live in Simsbury where the property tax is oppressive. And then they have the nerve to charge us car and sewer tax, trying to fund all the benefits of state employees has overtaxed the budget. Benefits need to be in line with the employees in the public sector. The cost of living is terrible, and taxes are just unreal. How can this little state have one of the highest gas tax in the country, and our roads be in such a mess, and not enough of them? I cannot get out of this state fast enough. We retire in 3 years and are making plans now to leave. Just about everyone I know talking about retirement does not plan on retiring here. And the young people are leaving, so why does that leave to pay for everything? Connecticut is a beautiful state, but just not an acceptable choice. If you want to keep some of your paycheck, and the people here need to smile, right? And that refers to the Old Testament. And the people here need to smile once in a while. I have never lived in anywhere I have received so many sarcastic looks because you smile at them. And, you know, being a native of Connecticut, being born in Hartford, Connecticut, and coming to Simsbury, I'm like Moses. I'm like a stranger in a strange land. sufficient truth.
Sarcastic, Mr. Hampshire.
Now,
Just, wrap it up.
my time is up.
It is.
I had so many things to
I know.
discuss, and time is fleeting. But thank you very much for what time you did allow.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at public audience? Sue? And then I'll get to, well, I went there first and I'll go back. Sorry about that.
Sue Barzik, 119 Sweet Street. I wanted to address, I wasn't able to come to the 6 o'clock meeting, so I just wanted to address the town manager issue, and I really hope and truly put together a charter revision commission to really review the positive aspects of having a town manager and truly have a real discussion about it, and not just, I think that there's an advantage to also having the Board of Selectmen, but I think it's long overdue that we look at a town manager, because I think with a town manager form of government, you're going to get a lot of different creative ideas from somebody who comes in with a wealth of knowledge. And I think that it's great for us to also have elected officials as well, but I think it's probably time for us to look into that. And as somebody who has had the last couple of years that were quite interesting for me, some political ramifications, I really strongly believe it, because I just think it kind of raises the bar with the management. And I don't mean anything against you guys, this isn't a personal thing. I just think that from a town employee perspective, they know how to kind of deal with some of the town employees, to kind of get them really thinking and adding a lot of different ideas to the plate. And Lisa, I commend you, you've done a great job since 21, but it's not like you couldn't do that as well and still have a paid town manager to work. Plus, I think you've cut a few people, maybe out of the first selectman's office. So I really think it's something that needs to be looked into. Secondly, with all the PUDs that have now been laid out through and down Route 10, I think it's time for us to review the Route 10 corridor study, because if each lot truly gets built out to its maximum, we are going to have a 4-lane road. So I think it's time for us to review it. Every time somebody comes in, they say, well, this project's not going to be bring in a 4-lane road. Well, just because one project doesn't, when you add them all together, you get a 4-lane road. So I think it needs to be reviewed. I think it needs to be looked at, and I think we need to have an honest discussion of zoning is there for the residents and for us to have a real knowledge of what the outcome is. We don't know what the outcome is, because the PUD is anything you want it to be at the top. So I think that, I know we see a lot on your plate, perhaps you can add that as well, and look into whether or not we should assess that, because from what I understood, nobody really wants a 4-lane road. And so I think we need to see if we're developing to the maximum. That's why zoning exists, not so you can develop to the maximum, but that's what the PUD allows. So those are a couple of thoughts for this evening, so I'll do that.
Susan?
Hi, good evening. Susan Messino, 41 Madison Lane. I've been preparing written comments, but since I'm opportunistically here with Troop 76, I thought I'd mention something that I've been kind of incubating for a long time, would really like to get some traction on, because I know the governor is making a big investment in transportation, and I think that might relate to the senior center issue and to what Sue was just mentioning about the 4-lane road. I moved here planning to take public transportation to work in Hartford, and I moved here planning to take my bike on the bus to Hartford and then biking back and forth, and that's what I did often in Denver. And to give you the abridged version, so we moved near bike lane, bike rail to trail that we can take into town. My family, we do that often on our bikes. And they said, we're going to have bike racks on the bike soon. That took about 4 years before the bike racks got on the buses, sorry. At that time, then I had a child in school, and I hadn't really strategized ahead of time that the bus schedule is really tied to someone who has maybe a 9-to-5 job in Hartford. And it's very challenging if you have to get a child on the school bus, then make the last bus down at Winslow Place, and there's very limited parking down there. So now I'm stuck with the situation that I can't get my children on the bus and then make the last bus to Hartford. But I really think a lot of other people in this situation. It's challenging. You also can't get a bus home if I want to try and go in early. I can't get back home to get the kids. There's a number of very small logistical issues. There's no buses on the weekend, so if we want to go to Hartford on the weekend, we often bring other kids with us. It'd be fun to take the bus down to the Athenaeum or the Science Museum. It'd be great for people in Hartford to come and enjoy some of the things we have in Simsbury. It would be nice to be able to go downtown or have people come up here to art evening events, and I'm not in support of the busway, but that's a huge amount of money to spend. And I think that there's very simple schedule changes and PR and things like that that would be good for young people to learn how to take public transportation. People who are young working adults want to live near transportation, be able to get around without their car. Families might like to go around on the weekend without having to take their car. And I think there's real opportunities for, a better synergy in this area, not just to and from Hartford, but on the Route 10 corridor to improve the bus schedule and frequency of bus transportation. And I've written all this up and just haven't perfected it. I've actually spoken at a transportation conference. I've spoken to the commissioner of the DOT, and so I will send you what I finally complete. And I know you all talk to different people, and I think, maybe we can finally get some momentum on this, and just something to think about that I think would have positive benefits in a lot of areas.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at public audience? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to we have no presentations tonight. That's a placeholder. With the day we've had, I wasn't sure if we'd have a presentation tonight. First of all, I'd like to announce that the town of Simsbury and the Simsbury Land Trust received the 2015 CLCC Excellence in Conservation Organization Award. I was pleased to join members of the Land Trust down at Wesleyan University this weekend to receive the award, and wanted to particularly thank Don Rieger and the Land Trust for nominating the Land Trust in the town for this award. And this was for the work they did with the sale of the George Hall Farm. I'd like to also announce that I invite residents to another open house to be held in my office on Monday, March 30th from 4 to 6 p.m. There are lots of exciting projects underway and important issues that I'd like to hear from you about, so please feel free to come in, talk to me about what's on your mind, let me know what you care about. And that's at Town Hall in this building in my office from 4 to 6 next Monday. I wanted to let the residents know that we have a shred event in Simsbury Town Hall Saturday, April 18th from 9 to 1 p.m. This is being sponsored by the Simsbury Police Department and our Social Service Department, and you can bring a maximum of 3 grocery-size bags of information to shred, and this is open for Simsbury residents. Last chance, our Senior Center Tax Assistance Program ends on April 9th, 2015. If you would like to do that, the Senior Center is offering tax preparation assistance through the AARP Tax Aid Program, and you can contact the Senior Center for information at 860-658-3273 if you'd like to make an appointment. I'd like to thank Social Services and the library for coordinating this. Finally, I wanted to let you know that the Senior Center will be offering a Dine and Discover, so come eat and hear a talk on financial crimes and identity theft. So it will be an exciting evening of food and information. And that will be held on April 20th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. at the Senior Center. And again, please call the Senior Center at 860-658-3273 to make a reservation. I want to thank them with that. And with that, we will move on to agenda items. For those of you who were here earlier, we did hold a hearing on the Small Cities Program application for renovations to the Virginia Connolly residence and the L. Murphy apartments. And before you tonight is a motion to approve the attached resolution that you have in your packets authorizing the first selectman to file an application to the state of Connecticut for $800,000 in order to undertake a small cities community development program for the renovation and repair of property owned by the Simsbury Housing Authority. This resolution must be read into the record, so that will be Chris.
I.e. Chris the Rookie.
We have a long-standing tradition for those in the audience and the Boy Scouts that the freshmen read the resolutions, and Chris is the newest member to the board.
Here we go. Whereas federal monies are available under the Connecticut Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program administered by the State of Connecticut Department of Housing pursuant to Public Law 93-383 as amended, and whereas pursuant to Chapter 127C and Part 6 of Chapter 130 of the Connecticut General Statutes, the Commissioner of Housing is authorized to disperse such federal monies to local municipalities, and whereas it is desirable and in the public interest that the town of Simsbury make application to the state for $800,000 in order to undertake a small cities community development program and to execute an assistance agreement therefore, should one be offered. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Selectmen, 1, that it is cognizant of the conditions and prerequisites for state assistance imposed by Part 6 of Chapter 130 of the Connecticut General Statutes, and 2, that the filing of an application by the town of Simsbury in an amount not to exceed $800,000 is hereby approved, and that the first selectman is hereby authorized and directed to file such application with the Commissioner of the Department of Housing to provide such additional information, to execute such other documents as may be required by the Commissioner, to execute an assistance agreement with the state of Connecticut for state financial assistance, if such an agreement is offered, to execute any amendments, rescissions, and revisions thereto, to carry out approved activities, and to act as the authorized representative of the town of Simsbury.
Thank you for that resolution. Would you like to make a motion to accept the resolution as read?
So move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is passed. I understand from Mr. LaMontagne from the Housing Authority who's here with tonight that tomorrow I will be signing a stack of papers this thick. So, looking forward. Looking forward to that very much because it really is a great project and we are hopeful that you will get the money because it is a well-worthy project. The next motion before you is to approve the tax refund in the amount of $2,010.13 in tax refunds. May I have a motion to approve that amount?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. Item C is acceptance of a financial donation of $4,976.40 from Stop and Shop for the Feed a Friend program. We are so fortunate to be in a community that has generous businesses and individuals that donate to our social services program. It is with our thanks that I present this motion. Stop and Shop supports the Feed a Friend program by soliciting donations during the month of November. These funds support our Tuesday program and our food closet. May I have a motion to accept a donation of $4,976.40 from Stop and Shop with our sincere thanks and appreciation?
Okay, we can make that motion with our sincere thanks. And I'll second it with thanks.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. Did I say the wrong amount on the tax?
Exactly.
I did. I don't know how I got that. So may I have a motion to amend the tax refund amount? I read the wrong number into the record. The amount we are being requested to refund is $1,937.15. I don't know how I got that other number. My apologies. Oh, I see how I got it. Yeah.
That's okay. Oh, I'm sorry, you want a motion to amend the amount? Is that?
The part that's excluded, as I understand, is the fire district.
Can't approve the fire district.
Got it.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to amend the amount of tax refund approved.
Correct.
And I will amend my second.
So the amount is $1,937.15, and we'll let the fire district approve their own. So, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. All right, we did that. Joe Mancini is here with us tonight. As you know, we have passed, Joe, come on up, my initial was, Joe has quite an extensive list for your consideration tonight. As you know, we have not yet presented our budget, although we have recommended it to the Board of Finance. We will be doing that on March 31st. But at their last Board of Finance meeting, the members of the Board of Finance considered some changes that are coming before you for recommendation, some for recommendation and some for approval. These changes were discussed at the Board of Finance meeting, which I attended, and I am in support of them. And so Joe will be going through each one as we talk about it. The first one is a recommendation. This is actually no vote is required by the Board of Finance or the Board of Selectmen, but the Board of Finance did take a vote to recommend. And I am also recommending that the Finance Director move $3 million from the Internal Service Fund to the OPEB Trust, and I will let Joe begin explaining that rationale.
The Internal Service Fund, as you're aware, is what the town uses to pay its medical claims. You guys have a fund balance, we have a fund balance of $6.5 million in there. Conversations with Bob Lindbergh, our health service provider, third-party administrator, we want to refer to him as, he recommended a number right around $2.4 to $2.5 million at the health reserve level. Bringing that number to the Board of Finance, that basically said that we have $4 million extra in this account that really is over and above what we need. You're very limited in what you can do with internal service fund money, so it basically has to stay with its original intention of how it was appropriated, right? It was appropriated to pay its health claims. So what we're recommending doing is moving $3 million of it over to the OPEB Trust, trying to earn 7.5% return as opposed to 0.22 or something like that. So, seemed to make sense, and what this does for you is this gives you budget relief, specifically for fiscal 16, but it continues, forever. So it's considerable, right? 7.5% on every $1,075,000. This is part of what the Board of Finance is recommending to get us budget relief for next year.
And part of that, the move of that and using the 7.5% expected rate of return will reduce the OPEB contribution for fiscal year 2016 by $147,929.
Yes, and that $147,000 is only on the town side. There is a Board of Ed component as well. So just to take the 7.5% over $3 million doesn't make sense.
And this we are bringing to you for transparency purposes only. Mr. Mancini does have the authority to make this decision and make this move without our consent or without the Board of Finance's, but I would commend Joe for bringing it because it is a large transfer for doing this publicly and transparently. So,
I'm just going to say, I think it's an excellent idea, and the fact that, you've gone through all the steps and gotten the opinion from Mr. Lindbergh, and, obviously there's a claims history that's there, and it's been pretty consistent, and if he feels confident that we have enough there to fund what has been our experience, then I think it's a wise move to do it.
and you do have the letter from Mr. Lindbergh, and I'd also just like to emphasize that I did ask Joe to speak with our town council on the authority to do this, and he confirmed that this is also an appropriate
As well as 2 independent auditors outside of what the town uses. The town auditors are also okay with this.
So I think it is a good recommendation. I thank the Board of Finance for recommending it and for Joe for recommending it. It will, like you say, give us relief for a number of years. And it is not just going anywhere, it's going back into the OPEB, so it's the same class of funds. So with that, may I have a motion to recommend transferring $3 million from the Internal Service Fund to the OPEB Fund?
I'll make that motion.
Would anyone like to second that? Is there any further discussion or questions for Joe?
Quick question, Joe, what does this make the funding level on the OPEB trust?
Every $1 million works out to roughly 5%, so that's 66%, 67%.
Which is, and again, typically from the Oregon Pension Fund, that sounds low, but we were early on funding our OPEB obligations years ago, so we're actually,
This is the highest percentage I've seen.
arguably, it's very high percentage in the Connecticut.
Yes.
That's right. This is a benefit to our employees, and it's, we're proud that we have been funding it, and we think that this is a fiscally responsible approach to our employee benefits.
It's incredible, it really is.
And just for the benefit of the public, those funds only go one way. We can't move things back and forth out of the trust fund, so once they go there, they're
No, that's not the case.
So you find that you can go back?
Oh, yeah, I have to pay claims out of it.
No, but I mean,
It would be used
just for the purposes of the trust, I know, you can't, I'm not talking
No,
about.
I can't take it out, just because I want to.
So it's not like it's discretionary in any way other than to pay claims, is that?
But this is you'll see, this is just another example of transparency in government. This could all be done, in a day by a phone call, but he wanted to do this publicly, and I thank Mr. Mancini for bringing this to your attention. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this? May I have a motion to, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Now we need a second motion on this, and then there are going to be a series of resolutions that we'll have to, not on this one, but later on. May I have a motion to approve the reduction in the fiscal year 2016 budget of the amount of $147,929 for OPEB costs? So that reduces our budget item because we've made that change. Yeah.
I'll move that. Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, the next thing the Board of Finance did was they approved and recommended a transfer of $400,000 from the expected fiscal year 15 general fund operating fund. This transfer requires a vote by the Board of Selectmen to approve, so they voted to approve it before we did. The way our structure of government works is we have to recommend to the Board of Finance to make this move, so they voted to make the transfer subject to our approval. So that's why it's coming before us. I cannot make this recommendation without our approval, so it's coming for you. If so approved by this board, it will provide additional budgetary relief through a reduction of the ARC, which is our annually retired contribution, because as you increase the amount that you funded, the ARC goes down. And that would be a reduction of $17,268, and it would also have the result of more fully funding that account.
So do you want to move those two separately, or do you?
Yeah, do you want discussion first, or I can, all right. So I would ask for a motion. May I have a motion to approve the transfer of $400,000 from the general fund to the pension trust?
Move that.
Second. Any further discussion on that?
So, same line of questioning before, what's our pension funded ratio?
Percentage off the top. We were pushing back up to the 80s, it's like 81, 82, and then if you look at it from, without smoothing, it was a couple points higher, like 85. It's pretty well funded. Because I have to look, let me look at the report, and I'll send out the numbers just to be.
I guess it's in significantly better position than it has been, and that's to no fault of our own. We're making the ARC. This further improves it. We did some things a couple of years ago to continue to shore that up. We put ourselves in a tough spot by lowering our expected rate of return,
That's right.
which is actually a really good decision because we're being more realistic about what we're going to get over the long term.
And funding the
Putting more money in as a result of it, so.
And we've been fortunate to have good investment returns. Those were over 14% this year. So we are moving in the right direction. We're using the right assumptions, and we're being fiscally responsible, so to our employees and to our citizens by not creating long-term obligations for our residents, as you've seen in some other towns that have been in the news. We'd like to stay out of the news on
And we
this.
just got to teach the state how to do this. We got to teach the state how to do this.
Right, it would be lovely if they came into some lessons from us, yes. I agree with that. So we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor of approving the transfer of $400,000 from the general fund to the pension trust fund, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. The motion passes unanimously. Then may I have a motion to reduce the fiscal year 2016 budget by $17,268 for pension costs, and that's because the ARC goes down.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now, here's where some recommendations I am making to you. These were also recommendations made by the Board of Finance, but they are also coming to you as my recommendation as well. And I think they have the support of Mr. Mancini as Director of Finance. So with these savings, when I submitted the budget to you, I did not have the benefit of these captured savings. And so when you have that, you make decisions where when you have different funds, you may make other decisions. So I'm requesting an adjustment in our budget and joined the Board of Finance in recommending, although they didn't take a vote on this, right, they just had a discussion.
Correct. Well, the budget technically hasn't been through that.
Right, so it is a little strange that they were discussing our budget before we've actually presented it.
Really?
And there are two things we can do. We could do this after the discussion, but this is actually my recommendation as well. So we can do it now, and it is your budget at this point, so we can adjust our budget if you want. Or we can wait, and I'm okay with waiting, and this is, I don't know, this is a sign. I know. But the first recommendation would be that we increase the fiscal year 2016 budget for $45,000 for Simsbury Farms. As you recall, the original tri-board recommendation was for $90,000. Before we had these captured savings, I did recommend that we smooth it in over 2 years. And we are,
Question. We've been moving these things separately, and if we move these three things separately, I think my question would be, if we approve all three of these, what kind of a budget increase are we passing on to the voters?
You want to pull that up? You have that?
So how does that impact our 1.57 that we already...
Comes 0.84.
Okay. And if we add 45,000 back in again? That's what that is? That's, okay, all that.
So, obviously, the tenant that you're getting from the Board of Finance, they're trying to minimize any tax increase or even provide a tax decrease. This will get you there.
Thank you.
So we're fortunate enough to add back the 45,000.
But the other thing adding back the 45,000 does this year is if we didn't do that, we'd know that this would be an increase for next year. So that it is...
Things like you're talking about.
It does help us with budget relief for the following year. It's in addition, we will not need to budget for the following year. So, and because we do have the captured savings this year that we hadn't anticipated, I do think that is a wise decision to make.
Okay. I would...
Any further discussion?
Go ahead, Nancy.
No, I was just going to say I would move to approve the increase of the fiscal year 2016 budget of $45,000 for Simsbury Farms, bringing the total for that line item to $90,000.
I second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The second thing, as you know, we had discussions during the budget that the CNR request was a little bit higher than it has been in the past. And we did decide as a board to go forward with it because we felt all those projects were required, and I still believe all those projects are required. But we do have the ability to do this year and still keep our number, our estimated number percentage. And I didn't realize, what's the percentage, our target, if we do this still? 8.84. 0.84. This will enable us to do this, but it will also enable us to reduce the CNR line items. So my recommendation to you, which is also a recommendation of the Board of Finance and the Director of Finance, but again, they didn't vote on it, so it's not an official recommendation, but it is still my recommendation to this board, is that we reduce the CNR account by $83,550, as this amount can be funded by favorability in the fiscal year 2015 budget. And Joe, would you like to speak to that?
Do you want a motion first? 2.8 police vehicles, so that's all in the lower No, we have some favorability that you're going to see on the expense side in June, which is already pretty much locked and loaded. So there's actually $120,000 that you're not going to spend this year. So allocating a portion of that towards this buys down the next 5 years by $16,790.
So it's another one of those long-term positive impacts to the...
That's right. That's right. So...
Everybody's getting all their trucks and all their police cars. We're not reducing any of the items in the schedule. We're just going to place it differently than the original plan.
That's exactly right.
So with that, I move that we approve the recommendation in the CNR account by...
To reduce the CNR account by...
by $83,550. This amount will be funded by favorability in fiscal year 15.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Then I need a motion, please, to reduce the fiscal year 2016 budget by $16,710 for the CNR payback from the general fund.
I move that.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And did I get everything, Joe, or is there anything else that I've missed?
You got everything.
I'll do this one.
Oh, Sean, you're so nice.
I like doing it. It's great.
He loves to read numbers. He was on a roll at our budget meeting, so he might as well, right?
He was a master.
I just got it back from Bob D. Well, I just gave it Bob D.
Joe makes a great point. When we read, for the members of the Boy Scouts, when we read resolutions, they do need council's, which is an attorney's approval, and so we get this specific language from that so that we make sure we're doing it in compliance with the law. So that, and it's a very formal process, and it's kind of a long and boring process, but we do it. And with
Take
that,
offense to that, it's not boring. This is my favorite part of this entire board. Simsbury Board of Selectmen, fiscal year 2015-2016 annual budget resolution. 1, annual town budget for the 2015-2016 fiscal year. Whereas...
It's the ask him that. Keep going, John.
Whereas on March 9, 2015, the Board of Selectmen approved a proposed annual town budget in the amount of $19,004,876. And whereas the Board of Finance desires to make the following additional changes to be incorporated into the Board of Selectmen's proposed annual budget. Employee benefits, major medical insurance, reduce $147,929. Employee benefits, police pensions, reduce $8,289. Employee benefits, town pensions, reduce $8,979. Simsbury Farms operating transfer, add $45,000. Operating transfer CNR 2016, reduce $16,710. Now, therefore, I, Sean S., can make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen proposed 2015-2016 operating budget with the above described adjustments in the amount of $18,867,969.
I'll second that.
any questions or further discussion on that motion? Do you have any questions on that?
No.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, do you want to keep going?
Capital non-recurring fund budget for the 2015-2016 fiscal year, whereas on March 9th, 2015, the Board of Selectmen approved a proposed capital and non-recurring fund budget for the 2015-2016 fiscal year in the amount of $499,800, and whereas the Board of Finance desires to make the changes to the budget for the fund as recommended by the Board of Selectmen as follows. CNR budget for the fiscal year 2015-2016 shall be reduced by $83,550 from the $499,800 to $416,250. Now, therefore, I, Sean S., can make a motion to approve the capital and non-recurring fund budget for the 2015-2016, in case we weren't clear, fiscal year in the amount of $416,250.
Second. Any discussion on this? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. I know this has been a...
Well done, really. Well done.
Fantastic. That is,
Good news. Thank you, Mr. Mancini. Yes, excellent job.
that's a heck of a number. We
And Board of Finance.
Yeah, I want to thank this board for your commitment. As you know, sometimes we get numbers in the middle of the process, so we make adjustments as we get new numbers in. So I want to thank you for, I thought this was a good budget process, and I want to thank you for your input and support of town employees and the citizens of this community. So with that was very exciting. Now we will go on to Senior Center. So as we know, at our last meeting, we made a decision to begin pursuing the Performing Arts Center as the primary site for a new senior center. As that process begins, we've put together a team of core administrative staff at the town level to move this project. There are lots of moving parts. There are lots of committees that need to be consulted. There are lots of aspects to it. And I'm going to have Tom describe sort of the process. It's my intention to keep this as a line item for every meeting we have so that this board will be fully updated. Obviously, we will still be going through the building committee for a lot of their work. They're still the committee we assigned to it, but we'll have multiple input from lots of committees, and we hope that the Aging and Disability Committee, we have the chair there, will take an active role in making sure that we get the programming right and that we're meeting the needs of our aging and disability community. So we're looking forward to an active role from them and from all our planning boards as we go forward. Tom, you want to give us a little update on what we've done?
Sure. There was, on the Wednesday right after this board meeting, there was really an all-hands-on-deck staff meeting here at Town Hall to try to figure out how we were going to tackle this project and put together a package in time for potentially a November 3rd referendum. You got a memo today that I think outlines how that process works, but we have tried to identify, first of all, we're taking a very project management focus to this. There is a spreadsheet with timelines, has to be done, when they have to be done in order to make it November.
And those include various board and commission dates we have to meet.
So that, and with each one of those tasks, one or more town staff have been assigned. As Lisa's pointed out, a large part of this process is going to involve reaching out to boards and commissions, first of all, through their chairs, early on to make sure that board and commission leadership know where we are and what's happening next and when they can expect to be involved in the process. It also gives us an opportunity to work into the fabric of what we're trying to put together, the major concerns that are raised by these groups. And of course, that's even outside of the formal process we'll go forward with as well. This project, Ms. Cole made some very valid points. This is an environmentally very sensitive area. The actual amount of land down there is a fairly small footprint, and the first thing that we've got to do is make sure that a building can be built down there that's going to take care of what the senior center program is going to entail. So by definition, that's going to involve a good hard look at some of the environmental implications. It's going to involve reaching out to some of the environmental groups that have been paying close attention to how we use that area. And it's going to mean working with state and potentially federal organizations to make sure that we get the clearances we need. But once again, the goal is to make sure that we keep the ball moving forward from the town staff.
And one of the first things we'll do is it's called wetlands flagging, which will go down and identify the wetlands area. And we'll also be doing a habitat study and see what important habitat or fauna could be impacted by this. So there will be a full environmental review of the area because it is in a sensitive area. And that's one of the first tasks that's on our list of things to do, and that will be done by our town engineer.
Right. And again, in that connection, you'll see later on in the memo, one of the things that's already happened is the initial meeting with the Performing Arts Center itself. Logistical concerns are huge. Without understanding what the PAC program is and what the senior center program is going to be, you can't really move forward. So, yeah, there are going to be large buses down there for PAC performances. There are loading dock areas that are needed. So how does one do that in a way that takes care of perhaps the senior center's feeding program piece, as well as what you need for the hard.
That would be lunches.
Lunches, are good.
We call them lunches.
I didn't see that coming.
It's been a long day.
As you go through this, there are people assigned to each one of these bullet points here. The program development piece, Nikki has obviously done a huge amount of work on this already, but there are other parties that may be able to help with that. Let's make sure that the library is involved, and the Culture Parks and Rec is involved, and the claims consultant, for example.
And Virginia Conley, I mean, we have certain core groups in town that may want to chime in on programming, and we value their input.
Exactly. Environmental compliance we talked about. Zoning compliance, it's our understanding that there is a 20-foot ceiling, I guess that's probably the right word, limit to what can be built down there right now. Well, it's not quite clear why that limitation is there, but that's something that the zoning folks will have to look at. And obviously, you can think of any number of groups that might be concerned about the outcome of that. Coordination with critical boards, commissions, and organizations. This is really going to go forward in a healthy way. We've got to make sure that happens through every step. Communications. The town staff is working very hard with one another to make sure that we are all on the same page in terms of where things stand and in terms of what the objectives are. Right now, our objectives are to make sure that we get this board as many of the facts as possible. And quite literally, that's going to be, here's what's possible in the time frame that we're looking at right now. Finally, we have a survey that's been authorized by the Board of Finance and by you. We will be, I'm working on that with Hiram actually, getting the names for that one. We've got the firm that, we have some folks that we're looking at to do this work. Very, very good proposals on that, and we are in the process of getting recommendations. Here, the trick is going to be to make sure, again, that we're very open about soliciting input from everybody, from residents, from boards and commissions, in terms of what the buckets are going to be in the survey. These guys are pros. They will design the questions for us. As soon as we know who they're going to be, we'll make sure that there's some hearings set up so that we can gather that.
That's exactly right. When we're using a professional survey, so we will not be asked what questions should be asked. We will be asked what information are you looking to get, and then the survey people, the professionals, they design the questions in the way that they believe is least biased, so they help design the questions. So it's a very professional and thoughtful process. There will be opportunity for input as to what information this board, the Board of Finance, and the members of the public are looking for. And so I think it's a real opportunity to sort of gain a understanding, and that process is underway. It's being reviewed, as you said, by Tom, Sean, Kimball, and Hiram have interviewed some of them.
Final piece on communications is that we will be reporting to you on at every meeting, every regularly scheduled meeting, whatever else we'll offer that. I'm here because what we've done so far is process, and we've started, our subject matter experts are already hard at work in their various areas. But things are well underway, and I must say that the meeting with the board from the PAC was quite exciting. So there's some good things happening with all this.
But as we go through the process, I just want to make sure this board knows we will be reporting to you. So if you need information or you want a specific subject expert to come in, like one of the engineers, you have a question, if you could just let Tom or I know, and we'll make sure that they're available for the next meeting. It's our job, we'll bring in people that we think you want to hear from, but if we miss it and you want to hear from someone we haven't thought of, it's our pleasure to bring them before you and get all your questions answered.
Absolutely. And the final piece here is just where we are right now, what we see as the critical issues facing us and those that are challenging the timeline. Certainly, one of the first things to do is to get the programmatic, schematic, and design development piece far enough along so that we can actually assess whether this is a fit, and whether or not any piece of the senior community center activities would end up remaining in Eno, depending on space. That's obviously the first thing, is to figure out the footprint. Environmental impact we talked about. This is a community that's absolutely committed to preserving the environment and doing the right thing by it. So we've got to make sure that that's moved forward in a conscientious way. Again, I've mentioned the zoning issue that we're facing. It doesn't sound to me like there are lots and lots of zoning issues, but there is at least one that we've got to deal with. Finally, one that needs to be raised is the issue of moving forward with architectural help. And is that something you want to
Yeah,
address?
the first actually policy decision we have to make tonight is whether to continue with the architect. The architect we've been using so far has been doing space considerations and site considerations. So it's an architect that was not really doing design, although had some design suggestions, but his primary purpose was to help us pick a site and evaluate this programming and the footprint of the site. So the first decision before this board is whether we want to stick with the current architect or go out to bid and do a design review of other architects out there. Now that we've picked a site, we're kind of moving on to the next phase, which is design. And we know that this community cares very much not only about that we be fiscally responsible, that whatever we make is compatible with the environment down there in terms of looks, use, function. And so the design element is very, very important. I just want to say that whatever building we end up doing, at the end of the day, it will probably be here for the next 100 to 150 years, so we do want to make sure we get this right. One of the things that will happen is if we decide to go out to RFP, it may very well make us miss the November referendum and push us back to the next May referendum. But that's not to say things won't happen on the senior center. As you can see from Mr. Cook, there are so many approvals, and some of the approvals can take up to 6 months to get. So we will be working to get the state approvals during that process, be working to get town approvals, be working to get the environmental studies, to be working on the program compatibility and use studies. So I will say the staff was very concerned about meeting the deadline period because there is so much to do, as you see from the memo, the amount of boards that have to be consulted, both state, federal, the amount of zoning changes, the amount of environmental considerations. There are lots and lots of moving parts and lots of committees that need to be consulted, and rightfully so. And the public, we want to make sure we have input. I just would like to emphasize to this board, to me, it's most important that we get it right, and that I don't know, to me, that a number of months is the end of the world so long as we get it right. So I would just like input on this, and this is the very first policy decision coming before this board. So I would like thoughts on that suggestion. Yeah.
I think it's good to have that sort of assessment of who we were using, and what their capabilities are. And that was one of the things we didn't really get to ask because it wasn't appropriate at the time that the architect had been in front of us a number of times to ask that. But I think we're now involved in an area that is a multi-use facility and isn't, exactly what it was before.
That's right.
And we may still have within this also some renovations to that would be taking place with it, that I would feel more comfortable with an architect who specialized in multi-use facility work and somebody that specializes in renovation of historic buildings. And so if Quisenberry, and I also understand, and I agree with, I don't want to get this done just to meet a date and want to get it done right. And I think the public should, at least at this point, understand our commitment as a full board that we've made unanimously voting to move forward with this. And I think the time frame and the communications that are outlined now is going to continue to help us do that.
And our current architect can certainly put in a bit, but it's time for the community to take a look at everything and just make sure that we've chosen the architect that we feel best fits the project as it's evolved.
I couldn't agree more. And so I would be in favor of, going out with something so we're sure that in the end we do it right.
I agree with Nancy. I think the more inclusive nature of the project now, and we are trying to build a more community use for our facility, even though we are dedicating, a building for the seniors, we are putting it in a very public area which has a multitude of uses by various groups, and I would be in favor of putting that out for further consideration for architectural. And it may turn out that we need somebody else with a historic building renovation specialty for the piece, and I wouldn't rule that out, but I want to, that there may be two different pieces to this that we have to consider, not excluding either one of them, but I'm...
To that point, if I may, that's one of the real tricks about all of this, is that when we have the Performing Arts Center scope nailed down, we don't really know what all needs to be done at Eno. That's one of the challenges. Tom Roy could come in and probably give you the 101 on...
And in fact, Tom, for our next meeting, why don't we...
I feel very strongly that we do not exclude the Eno piece, because I want that to be part of the equation. And I'm not saying that it won't be, but perhaps we need a different specialty than...
Absolutely. And I think the first place to start is with Tom, who has done an evaluation, who actually knows the building very well. And we, thankfully, because of this board's recommendation, we do have the disability evaluation of Eno. So we do have some of the problems identified thanks to the work of the Aging and Disability Community and the project, the research we had done. So we do have a lot of the information we're going to need that will help any architect we hire sort of understand what we're looking for and some of the challenges and opportunities of that building. So for the next meeting, can we please bring in Tom Roy? Yeah.
I think this makes a lot of sense. Lisa, I agree with everything that you and everyone else have said. I don't view this as a delay. I view it, as you stated, getting it right.
That's right.
And if it takes us till December, or if it takes us till January, again, town staff and this board is not going to go any slower because...
It's full steam ahead.
...by a different date. We're going to move at exactly the same clip. We're going to all get together and have as many meetings and as many discussions as we need to have.
That's exactly right.
To get this done. But, that work and the realities of the project scope we've picked will dictate the timeline. And
that's exactly right.
We're not going to drag our feet, so I'm looking forward to that, and I think this makes sense.
Which is why we're going to keep it on the agenda every meeting, so that we can see the progress we're making and make sure that, as this board has said, they really felt we needed our board to get behind this 100%. And by keeping the public updated every meeting, we will keep this on track. And we do have the commitment of town staff. I want to really commend them, because this is a tremendous amount of work. And they are working together and coordinating their actions. It's a tremendous amount of coordination and scope that they'll be assigned. So with that, can I have a motion to go out to bid to hire a design architect for the Performing Arts Center Community Center project with Eno considerations as well?
I move that.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the last thing I have before you is, because this is such a complex process, and because all the policy decisions, I'm not looking to create a subcommittee of this board, because I think the full board should be making the decisions together. This is a project that has been going, so I intend to be the reporting board to this committee to remain as a decision-making body and not a recommending body. But I am going to recommend, actually, I don't think I need your approval for this, but I'm going to, in the interest of transparency, announce that I'd like to appoint Sean Askham, not Kimball. I was about to say Kimball.
This one, not the other one.
That one, as a liaison, as I work internally with my staff, because he can help get the information that the board needs, report to staff and say, the Board of Selectmen is going to be looking for this. There will be times that, I think that input will be helpful. Mr. Askham does have experience working with the Performing Arts Center, and he is the most senior member of this board after me. So that was my thinking on that. He will not be in a decision-making position, and it's just a liaison position. All decision-making will remain at this board. I will, other than the administrative tasks, I won't be making policy decisions of my own as well. We'll be bringing those to this board. And we'll be as transparent as we can and move it along. So if there are no objections to that, I will appoint Sean as a liaison to the administrative working group. Okay, thank you.
I appreciate that. Just one correction, though. Nancy does have 7 months on me.
Oh, does she? Oh! I'm still short of leave.
Never get that out there.
So we're not slither away from that one, right?
Okay, so moving on, then, and did I... And then we're going on to other business. We have before us coming up is the Hometown Hero selection process. As you know, we try and do this as close to May 12th as we can, because that, I think, was the day of our founding. This year, we are anticipating that the Hometown Heroes tentatively scheduled for Monday, May 18th at 6 p.m., with nomination forms due by 4:30 on Thursday, April 28th. In the past, the Hometown Hero consisted of Mary Glassman, the first selectman, Michael Payne, selectman of the opposite political party, as is our practice, Roger Spear, a member of the Simsbury Historical Society, Tom Horan, a business leader, TJ Donahue, a former Hometown Hero recipient, and Lynn Lanza, a veteran. The following people have expressed an interest to continue on that committee from last year. They are Roger Spear, Tom Horan, TJ Donahue, and Lynn Lanza. I will, as is our practice as first selectman, I will continue to serve on that in Mary's place. And I am looking for a member of this board. I don't know if Mike is still
I
interested.
would be honored, and assuming the board agrees, would like to serve on that again. It's a good group.
Do we have any objections to that? No. Okay, so do we need to appoint members of this committee at this point? Why don't we?
I don't see any reason not to.
Okay, may I have a motion to amend the agenda to appoint members to the Hometown Hero?
I will make that motion, and I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
May I have a motion to please appoint Lisa Hebner, first selectman, Michael Payne, selectman of the opposite political party, Roger Spear, member of the Simsbury Historical Society, Tom Horan, a business leader, TJ Donahue, a former Hometown Hero recipient, and Lynn Lanza, a veteran, to the Hometown Committee selection.
I'll make that motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, going on. And then before you, just for your, do we have that? I do not have. What's that? The letter? We will get that for you next time.
I will email that to all of you.
It's just a letter of correspondence I wrote updating on the sewer, M4, just our letter. It's basically in conformance with the recommendations that we'll be bringing to you in consultation with Mr. Roy. It's just a letter I'm writing supporting the continued efforts to take a reasonable approach and thoughtful approach to unfunded mandates as we try to comply with environmental things. So we'll give you a copy of that. And now, the first thing I think I'd like to do, if you don't mind, can I have a motion to amend the agenda? We're going on to appointments and resignations. To amend the agenda to appoint Jackie Battis to the Economic Development Task Force. May I have a motion to amend the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. May I please have a motion to appoint Jackie Battis to the Economic Development Task Force?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Did you get it? Okay, we've got Sean first, Cheryl second.
I don't know who made
The first one? Oh, the amendment? I think that was me. Sherry made the amendment, Sean seconded it.
Sherry,
Thank you.
Do you have those, Tom?
that's right.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. May I have a vote? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you to Jackie Battis for her service. Moving on, may I have a motion to accept the resignation of Christopher Miel as a regular member of the Economic Development Task Force, February 17, 2015. I guess I should have done that first.
Oh, this is a different thing, just to let folks know that we're replacing Jackie because she's a liaison from the zoning commission. We have a very full board of people, although we are keeping them very busy, but as far as putting other folks on, we're, more than halfway through, and so we didn't feel the need to replace. So Jackie is a liaison appointment. This is just a straight up resignation, so anyway, and I will move that with thanks.
Second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Sean seconded. Yep.
Can we unplug that?
I'm working on it.
Howard.
Thank you.
Okay. May I have a motion to appoint William P. Hansos to the Recycling Committee with the expiration date of December 7th, 2015?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. May I have a motion to appoint Richard Fortes as an alternate member to the Building Code of Appeals with an expiration date of January 1st, 2016?
So moved. Oh, sorry.
Second.
We'll go Sean and Chris. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. May I have a motion to appoint Melissa Osborne to the Clean Energy Task Force with an expiration date of December 7th, 2015? I'll move that. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. With our thanks for service, we appreciate the fact that our residents are willing to serve it. Participation in local government is very important and makes us better, and we appreciate your service. We will now go on to the minutes.
I'd just like to report that I reviewed them all, and Sean is Mr. Sean Askham.
There is no microphone there.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for the suggestion. Okay, well, we have before you the special meeting of March 5th, 2015, the minutes before you. I do have one change on that, so I will make a motion to amend the minutes.
Second.
Okay.
The change is on page 2. In the second paragraph, it said, Mr. Cook said it would. Cook is C-O-O-K-E.
Yeah, nice.
So that's the one change.
Actually, and in that same paragraph, at the end of that, Mr. Cook with an E said it would.
Oh, I missed the first one, so thank you.
Yep.
Well, no, I think that...
The first one's right.
That first one's right.
That was me, yeah.
Oh, it's Miss Cook. Sorry, so sorry.
That was me. Talking... It was me.
Mr. Cook.
You guys on the same page.
So we have a motion to amend a second with the change of Mr. Cook to Cook with an E in the second paragraph. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. We have before you special meeting minutes on March 7th, 2015. The minutes will stay as is unless there is a motion to amend. Are there any motions to amend?
No.
Okay. Before you, so that those meetings will be posted as final. Before you, we have the regular minutes on March 9th, 2015. These minutes will stay as is unless there is a motion to amend if anyone has changes. Does anyone have changes to these minutes?
No.
Okay, so that will stay. We will now go on to Selectmen liaison and subcommittee reports. I'll just start out by saying we did hold the Betty Hudson hearing of what to do with One Oak Bridge. We had about 40 people attend and gave great suggestions, good feedback, and if anyone missed the meeting, they can watch it on SCTV to hear what others had to say, and of course I welcome your opinion. Let me know, let any member of the board know what you're thinking, and if you want to come to my open house next Monday, we can talk about it in person.
From the, I wonder if that's it. No, that's not it.
We could try. Okay.
It's getting a Nancy now.
But I want to say our meetings are moving very fast. So maybe this is just what we needed. We'll go on to then other regular liaison and subcommittee reports and begin with personnel.
Yep, thank you, Lisa. We held a public hearing earlier that most of you were at, but for purpose of the public, I'll just do a very quick update. We were asked by the first selectman to hold 2 public hearings as a result of the public audience feedback in January relative to the first selectman's salary. The first was the public hearing we held 2 weeks ago on the first selectman's salary, and then the second was tonight on the form of government. And we had a public hearing. We did present some information that was handed out that you have copies of. We did provide an overview of 6